Welcome to That One Time with Adam Metwally, the podcast conversing the pillars of health, wealth, art, and wisdom for all you holistic hustlers out there. Today, we're at the beautiful Music for a While studio with Laurie Cooper. Laurie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So, Laurie, you've built an empire by merging high stakes in New York City real estate with a brilliant media presence. But let's go back to 1979. You started your brokerage firm, Laurie Cooper Inc., kickstarting a 40-plus year career in real estate. If you were to start again now with a vision of making it big in New York City today, what would you do? How would you do it? And what would you tell yourself to minimize the mistakes made during that journey?
You know, I started out, Barbara Corcoran started out, and she said something to me once that was something I thought about for many years. She said, you know what, Laurie, I don't compete with my salespeople. I just run the company. And I thought about it because when I had all those people, I was so competitive because I have this salesmanship and I always wanted to do the deal. So I always chimed in and tried to do it for them, and I competed with them, which I would never do now. So I just think you also never talk too much. I remember meeting sponsors of buildings, and they said, so tell us, we'll give you the building. What would you do for us? And I told them too much because then I didn't get it, because they decided, well, let me hire someone to run this. I don't have to pay a broker. I can do the same thing that Laurie Cooper is going to get a commission for. But when I started, the whole key is getting the building, because that's where you get all your sales. And we did that to a degree. So we had all these townhouses, and a lot of the townhouses that we had were converted into multifamily. And that was a great thing at that moment, because they took one building and they made many apartments out of it. And I remember sitting in one townhouse on 79th between 5th and Madison. And of course we were the first ones to do open houses. So we ran open houses and people just came through. One day a man came through and said to me, you know what? I own this house 5 years ago. And you know what I paid for it? $250,000, which was nothing. And he was so devastated to come to see what we were getting, because we were getting more than that per apartment for the building.
Wow.
And that same building, all these years later, they bought everybody out, and that same building went for $50 million. So there's the value of townhouses. And we were selling the apartments in there. I mean, I think back now, and I remember the boards were very difficult, and you really had to qualify in order to purchase something. It was not easy. Co-ops have not changed much, but they're a little bit more flexible now. That's when they realized, with all the restrictions co-ops had, that maybe this was a time to do something else called condominium. Because a condo, you own your own apartment. You're not obligated to the board. You own it. You're responsible for your own space. Co-ops, your shares in a corporation. And so everything has to pass by the board. And so they don't like the way you look, they turn you down. They don't want your financials, they don't like them, they're iffy, they turn you down. And that's very nerve-wracking, because people want the apartment, they've got the money, but there's something there. And after all the months of working with them, and then you lose the commission, and then of course they hate you. They don't believe it's them, they think it's you.
So if you were to start again in the city, would you go into real estate again? If you're starting today, 28-year-old version of you.
It's very difficult now.
Okay.
There's thousands of brokers out there. I believe I'm the best.
What
I
makes
could
you
sell
the best?
anything, and I really feel very confident because people believe in me, and I would never sell anything I didn't believe in.
Yeah.
And I feel there's an advantage to a lot of stuff. There's always that person that wants quiet, and so they'll take the back apartment, and there's just a plus factor to everything. So I could make that happen, and that's the way to sell real estate.
Yeah.
Would I go into real estate now? It's very competitive now, but I have confidence, so I would.
So what would you say if you were to break it down? What makes you the best real estate agent?
I'm honest, and I believe in myself. And I know New York City. I know where you're at. I know the best locations. I know what you tell me what you want, and I am not a waste of time person.
Yeah.
So I know where to match you. And time is valuable. And many brokers call me, and there were times they said to me, I want to see it. And I say, no, what are they looking for? And it's totally wrong. You're not giving them what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And so that's such a waste of time as far as the financing, as far as how much they're worth. You hate to ask people how much they're worth and what their income is, but you have no other choice.
Yeah. 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 Fair. So I'd love to understand a little bit more about you. So what were the contexts of your earlier years that kind of allow us to understand you more as a human?
I've maintained so many friendships over the years. I've gone to parties in Europe, to a castle. My client owns a castle. I went to a wedding. I've gone and done so many things as a result of meeting people. I mean, I've had friendships all these years, and it's just a gift to be able to sell because it's always new people you're meeting, and every day is a new story. So it's a great business, but if you're not confident and you're hungry for money, it's not happening right away. You got to wait. And you have a lot of competition now with, this is the story, and it's an unfortunate but true story. If you know someone and the market's a strong market and you've got their apartment, you don't need salesmanship. You just got to open the door and you sell it. Now it's a bit more difficult. Now you have to have salesmanship. When the market's strong, it's very easy, much easier. Now it takes a lot of your knowledge to be able to commit these people to purchasing.
So that's an interesting segue. So negotiation in New York isn't just about price, it's about relationships, as you mentioned before. How have you cultivated long-term connections that benefit both the deals and the media work that you do now?
My knowledge, my experience, thousands of apartments I've sold. I've been in front of so many boards. I've convinced hundreds of people to buy their apartment when it was a non-evict plan. Can you imagine?
What's that? What's a non-evict
talking
plan?
them into buying their apartment at the inside price of $90,000 for 10 rooms on Fifth Avenue? I mean, those that didn't, of course, lost out. What a shame, because those same apartments are going for $12 million now.
Wow.
So I had to convince all these people because they could stay in their rental and pay their $2,500 a month for the rest of their life. And it's kind of stupid because they made so much money. And at the beginning of this real estate business, you could buy, resell, because it was new conversions and there was no board. So that was like an amazing thing where the money was made in those years. Even up to a number of years ago when buildings went up and the sponsors needed money, there were brokers. 15 Central Park West is an example. Brokers gave them seed money.
Oh, wow.
And that was like an amazing thing.
Yeah.
They put their commissions in, whatever, and they made so much money, and they're still owning them there. That is no longer happening. Obviously, that changed over the years.
So you're a lifelong New Yorker. Where were you actually born?
I was born in Brooklyn, which is now the hottest area in the city. New York is great, but Brooklyn is where there's a lot of activity. The prices are sky high. Who thought? We couldn't even wait to get out of Brooklyn. We hated Brooklyn. Right. And now this is where they all want to go. I mean, it's a joke. So I go back to Williamsburg, to all those areas, Greenpoint. I'm like in shock about how trendy and hip. It goes to show you there's such a demand here. So they're going elsewhere.
What makes those areas now good?
It's fun.
Yeah.
Young people go there because, you know what? It's a hop, skip, and jump into New York City. And the prices were better there. But it's like a little small town. You've got great restaurants within blocks of each other. You've got young people there. And because of that, 5-star hotels went up in Williamsburg. I was in shock. I mean, this was a horrible area. This is where not the upper class lived. Even the middle class weren't there. It was the lower class. And I walk around, I look at these buildings, I'm in shock because some of them haven't even been renovated and they've been getting top dollar. Too bad I didn't own something. So somebody's great-grandfather, you inherited his house, made $1 bazillion. Where else could you do this? Not move, not do anything, just make all this money. Yeah. So real estate's still making money.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you were from Brooklyn. How did you grow up? Did you grow up in a like wealthy or middle class?
No, my family had money.
Family? Okay.
My father came over. I'm first generation American. And
where did your father come over
from? My father came first and started a business in the garment center. He did all these racks for ladies' wear and became successful in what he did. And I just was brought up spoiled. So we were like one of the well-to-do families in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I remember my mother getting a mink jacket. It was silver blue mink, and she paid $4,000.
Oh, wow.
Today's day, I don't know what that's worth.
Probably
the price of an
30
apartment.
grand, 40 more. Wow.
So I mean, you know, it was a time, and life keeps moving on. We do the same things people do now. Dating was the same. Finding a guy was the same.
Really?
Nothing's different. Always think a lot of yourself. That's number one. Always look good, feel good, believe in yourself, and you will be successful in anything you do.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a good segue into the next thing I wanted to talk to you about was, as a lifelong New Yorker, what are the key characteristics that you've constantly seen between the people who are successful in this city versus the ones who get spit out? For those, there's a lot of people new in the city. There's a lot of people trying to make it.
They're aggressive.
They're aggressive.
They're aggressive. They don't sleep. They're out there socializing. They're getting out there.
So you think socialization, being social, is everything in this city?
Everything.
Okay.
Meeting people is everything.
Okay.
So they get out to the bars at night. They socialize amongst money people.
How does anyone get any work done?
They're always networking.
How does anyone get any actual work done? You just don't sleep.
No, they don't. They're out networking.
Yeah. So working during the day and networking at night.
Telling you, there's a lot of people making money, and they're also lucky. Lucky sperm sometimes. That family gives them something to sell, and that gets them going.
Yeah. If you don't have that luck, what are the key characteristics that you've found?
Very hard.
Yeah.
You have a lot of competition. You got to know people because no one's giving you anything. You got to fight for whatever you get, and you've got to prove yourself. If you don't prove yourself, you're not getting it. There's 9 million brokers out there. I mean, really tough now to make money. Honestly, it's not like it used to be.
Yeah.
We had the first cell phones in our car. We used to have to go run to a corner store. Hopefully they had a public telephone for you to put the offer in. It was different. Doorman gave you leads.
Oh, really?
It was just a very different world than it is right now.
Yeah. So you've seen a lot in this city. You've seen ebbs and flows, people coming, people going. What were some of the more challenging times of your experience in New York City? You know, apparently the 80s were pretty rough.
It was a tough time because the city was really not doing well.
What changed?
What changed is the stock market.
Interesting. What do you mean?
Yes. I mean, there were a lot of investments that were bad investments and people had money in them. I had many clients who sold stock in order to buy something that was expensive, and then
it dropped.
God knows it dropped. It dropped. It was a really rough time in New York City, and people didn't want to buy, they wanted to rent. And this was a whole new thing. Rent luxury apartments, and luxury they were. They were getting big dollar. And they said, you know what? I'd rather rent than buy because they were so worried about their money. The stock market was bad. The city was bad. Remember, Ford said, drop dead New York. We had our problems here. That's true. And then we went through some really rough times with street people on every corner. They were stretched out on the street. I mean, the Coliseum, they were loaded on the street, sleeping there. Much worse crime then than now. Believe me, everyone. It was really not good.
So what did
and
people
we overcame
think
it.
when they lived here, when you're walking down the street in New York and there's like all of this stuff going on, all of this dangerous negativity? Were you sitting there thinking, I got to get out of here? Or were you just like...
I never did because I always loved New York.
So what was it like?
It's a city that has all kinds of people, all kinds of opportunities.
Yeah.
And that was a challenge for me.
Yeah.
I love a challenge. I knew I could make it. If you make it in New York, remember that. You could make it anywhere.
Definitely. So how did you keep yourself focused around all of that chaos during those difficult times in the city?
If you needed money to live, you felt you just had to do it.
Yeah,
what else could you do?
Yeah.
Couldn't sit back and say, well, things are not good, but you had to pay bills. You had to get out there. You had children in school. You had children in private school. You had to keep going.
Yeah.
And so there was always someone that wanted to buy something.
Yeah.
And then it was crazy. They said, just buy. Do you remember that? If you have 20,000, 10,000, take that money and buy something. A lot of that collapsed because people did. And they couldn't keep it up. They didn't really have the money, but it was buy it, buy it, buy it. And that was a huge mistake. And that's what forced the market down in the city.
Okay.
They could keep up the money when the city did not do well anymore.
So then what was the turning point that made it good again?
You know, when they cleaned up the city, and they did, things got better here, and people realized what a great city this is. And again, there's the stock market. When the stock market went up, that gave people more confidence. And when they got the big bonuses, these guys, they went out and bought apartments with those big bonuses.
So there's a lot of finance money.
So we've seen every cycle here in New York City. But we are a city. This is the greatest thing. We're filled with all kinds of people. So things change, but there's another group coming up because they love walking these streets.
Yeah, there's a lot of history. You know, as a new person in the city, I walk down the street and every corner's got some like amazing history, some like really interesting story with some iconic person. I remember going to Grand Central Station and just standing there and thinking the amount of successful, famous steps that have like walked this path, that have come to this city with like a backpack or a bag and gone, all right, I'm going to make it. Thousands, probably hundreds of thousands. And it's very inspiring. So
it is. Think about Ellis Island. Those people came over here. They were told there's gold in the streets. Yes. That's what my family thought. There was gold here. But it really was gold.
There was gold. It's better than gold.
Because it's better than gold.
Yeah.
We had money. You could make money. That's why all the refugees came here now.
Yeah.
They thought they could make money. And you can make money. There's always jobs here. You can always get a job. This is what's great about this city. We always need someone.
Yeah.
We need each other. And that's how you thrive.
Yeah. So a lot of people came, with a dream. Do you think that dream is still valid now?
100%. It's getting better.
You think
I
it's
meet
getting
people
better?
all the time. They say, I'm so thrilled to be back here.
Yeah.
I interview girls.
Yeah.
They came here from everywhere. One I did recently was Miami. And many women from LA come here because in LA it's hard to meet guys. It's hard to do that because everybody's so artificial. It's all the movie capital.
Yeah.
And if they're not, and they all look alike, and it's tough to socialize there. Really tough. Here everybody's real. It's not warm weather, it's cold weather, it's everything here, which makes for an interesting life. It's just stimulated all the time.
Yeah. Is there a downside to that stimulation, constant stimulation? How do you balance it?
We're all doing it now. We're bringing it back. That's why we survived COVID and we came back. I looked out of my window and all these beautiful apartments, dark. Moving trucks on the front page of the New York Post. Moving out of New York, never coming back, escaping. Bullshit. I knew that wasn't going to be happening. So I did a podcast during COVID, and people begged me to continue doing it, making them feel good because they had no hope. And I said, believe me, they're going to come back here with all their money from all parts of the world. And they did, and they are coming because, again, we are the best and safest city in the world.
Okay.
We allow everything here. So this makes for so much movement back here. And when they're back here, that's why all these Williamsburg, all of Brooklyn, Queens, they're just getting filled up because we're so busy here, and it's all making money because they want to work here and they want to live here. And you have the subway system so they can get to work easily. So happy to live here. Really grateful. I always told people, just be grateful. Believe me, it's going to be successful again. There's just no way that anyone from overseas doesn't feel good about leaving their money here.
Yeah.
We are still and will continue to thrive. Watch it. You'll see the stock market will come back. And when they don't want to put money in the stock market and they diversify, which is the right way to do it, they put their money into real estate. Diversify, diversify, diversify. Take out your profits and buy real estate. You can't depend on the stock market because all your money's there. That's kind of scary. I want to feel it, see it, sell it.
Yeah, yeah. So with the city moving forward, what do you think makes New York so unique compared to, say, London or Paris? Why is it so special?
Just came from London and Paris. Guess what? You live in New York. How lucky. I'm dreaming of living in New York.
Yeah,
I mean, Paris is charming, but Paris is in New York. New York is in Paris. It's so different than it was many years ago. I go to Paris and seek out the greatest little ladies' wear shops. I said, are you sure it's not in New York? Well, it was in New York. And now it's really in New York. So all of Europe is coming here because the money is here in New York.
Yeah.
And of course you want to live here because it's thriving. And a lot of stuff going on in Europe is not that great. Their governments are having problems. Believe me, big problems. It's great to visit, but it's better to make money here and then visit there.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please head to YouTube, search That One Time with Adam Metwally, click subscribe, like the video, and leave us a comment. Until next time.